y I have defined, x I have defined, syntax error. Okay. Oh, y call equal to, okay, y equal to x. Okay, so this is the simplest way to call a function. Okay, so I have defined, so I have stored the value and then print comma y.
So there is a error in call statement, right? In this given
So
program.
basically, call statement is used to call a subroutine, not a function. So that's why it is. Yes. So basically, if so, for example, you can see I am giving an input value which is pi, and I am getting a output value which is twice that of pi. Okay, because this is the function. You can just do anything. So, for example, you can calculate sine of some function. You can do some complicated calculation here. Okay. So this is the part we have to do the calculation. You can write any calculation here. Okay, any calculation matlab, so for example you have to, so for example some complicated calculation. Okay, so for example let me, so basically let me give you some assignment. Calculate the values of e to the power x, okay, up to double precision. So this is an assignment. So give write a program to calculate the values of e to the power something with some arbitrary precision. So what you can do is that you can use, so you already have a code for factorial. Okay, so for example, and you have to calculate that with a e to the series of e to the power x. Okay, so you cannot just use the intrinsic function. You have to use the Taylor expansion of exponential functions e to the power x, and then you have to use that series of e to the power x. Okay. So for example, you already have written the code for factorial. So that code for factorial you can use as a function or as a subroutine. So for function there is is there anything? So for example, the is there any question?
Sir,
Yes.
sir,
Yes, go on.
sir, टेलर सीरीज कितना ऑर्डर तक करना पड़ेगा?
So that will depend on your precision. Okay. So first do it for single precision. So you have to find up to which point you have to truncate. Use an if condition. If so, it will calculate the values of this series. So for example, x square by factorial 2 plus x cube by x cube plus x cube by factorial 3 plus x to the power 4 by factorial 4. It will calculate each and every term. If some term is less than your precision, then it will stop there and give you the result. Is it clear? Do you understand? Do you get it? What I?
ये सर प्रिसीशन मतलब आप इप्सिलॉन के बारे में बोल रहे हो ना?
No. Precision matlab. So for example, you will write your code either single precision or double precision, right? So what you want to do? I mean,
यस सर.
so for example, if you write your double, so first write your code in a single precision. Okay.
ओके.
Write your code your single precision. Calculate each term, and if so, for example, calculate terms one after another. Okay, so for example, you can see each term. So for example, if you just look at the series of e to the power x, each term, so for example, x cube by factorial 3 is smaller than x square by factorial 2. Okay, so that's why each term, so at the, so for example, higher order terms are smaller in magnitude than lower order terms. Okay, so for example, x cube term is smaller than x to the power 4 term. Okay, and so also I think you have to I think confine yourself between 0 to 1, otherwise I think this is not true. Okay, yes, so limit the values of x between 0 to 1. Okay. And so if you confine yourself the values of x between 0 and 1, okay, then you can show that higher order terms are smaller than lower order terms. Okay. So that means x cube by factorial 3 is smaller than x square by factorial 2. So that's why you calculate one term after another. And when that term is less than 10 to the power minus 8 in case of single precision, then you add only up to that part. Okay. You don't have to add higher order terms. So you have to find up to which order you have to do the summation automatically within the code with an if condition. Okay. Hello.
Sir, then we
So,
have any
sir,
limit of
this
that
condition
to
we
hit
have
or
to
we have
check
to do
in
or
if
One after.
statement. Huh?
Oh, okay. One after another. Okay. So, for example, who was speaking? Who have asked the question?
Sir,
Yes.
I Devajyoti.
Devajyoti. Yes. 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 Ask.
Sir, yeah, so we have to check in if condition, na?
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
Using that 10
hmm,
to the
hmm,
power minus 8.
hmm. So first write the code in single precision, then you can generalize it to double precision. Then there is no such issue. Okay. So that's why I mean single precision is also very useful for testing a code. Okay. So for example, because you can see the result, you can test your result with a calculator that if it is returning you a example. So if I mean so whether it returns the result correctly or not. Okay. Yes. So is there any other question? Someone also asked some question.
Sir, when you show this, whatever you are saying on
Hmm.
the single precision and convert it into the double precision, then
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
will be better to understand, sir.
It will be.
It will be better to understand, sir. Please once show it how it works.
So which program that problem in the exam that you mean, or you mean
No,
that, or
sir.
so
No,
this
sir.
program?
What are you about telling about this example?
Oh, okay. So I'm not prepared for do that. Okay, so I will discuss that in the next class. Okay, and I think some of you are expert. Please, Debajyoti, please write the code. Okay, I will discuss that code in the next class. Okay, so and also. Just check. Okay, so because I have to write a Fortran, I mean subroutine for that. Okay, so I need some time to. I mean, it's not easy code because you have to test this if condition. But I will discuss that. Okay, or if I cannot discuss, I will just email you first the code and then okay. And in the meantime, if someone can, I mean, if someone can write the code, you can email me. Then I mean, I don't have to write that. I can discuss that in the next class. Okay.
what specifically we have to write?
So you have to write a program. So okay, I will email that. Okay, I will email that. I will email the. Okay, so you have to write a program that will calculate the values of e to the power x up to certain precision. So if I say that give me the result up to single precision, it will return you value up to single precision. If I say that, and so basically, and you have to use the series. Okay, you have to use the series of e to the power x, and I mean value of x can be anything between 0 and 1. Okay, and so that means you have to truncate the series up to some order, and up to which order you have to so take, okay, in that series, that you have to decide inside the code depending on the precision.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, we will decide on the basis of what? Like as the value of infinite series at which term it is going, it is tending to zero.
Yes, not it will tending to 0. So 0 means what? 0 means your precision, single precision or double precision. So that value. Okay, so let me show you the. Uh, let me just show you series and discuss exponential series. Okay, so let me not. Uh,
Sir, this is the depends on me and what
yes,
and
so
which
let
code
me.
you have to
Yes, so I understand your
translate.
confusion. Okay, so there is something. let me first open the series. Okay, I think all of you know what is that series, but I think this is the series, right? Hello, is this screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So you have a series like this. It will go on 1 plus x squared by factorial 2, and you can see it is a diverging series. Okay. So if x is greater than 1, then this series will give. I mean, it will give you some result, but I mean that will be larger and larger. Okay. So that's why we are not interested in value. So we are not interested in the series for values x which is greater than 1. Okay. So let us uh, find the values of e to the power x using this series, where x can take only values between 0 and 1. Okay, up to this point you don't have to any problem. Okay, now you can see one thing. So for example, all terms is smaller than, if x is in between 0 and 1, okay, then all terms is smaller than the previous term. Okay, so x square by factorial 2 is smaller than x cube by factorial 3 is smaller than x square by factorial 2, and so on. Okay, so all higher order terms are smaller than lower order terms. Okay, so for example, x to the power 4 by factorial 4 is smaller than x cube by factorial 3. You can test it. Okay, you can calculate all other terms. So now the question is, up to which point I will truncate my series. Okay, so that's the question that you want to ask, right? So now, if I say that I want to find the result in a single precision, okay, then you have to truncate this series. I don't remember, but it is, I think you have to do summation up to 8 or 10. Okay, 8 or 10. So you have to do this calculation. So for example, I think x to the power 10 or something. Okay, something. So for example, let us assume that you have to truncate. So, but how would you know? Okay, so whenever you are doing any numerical programming, there is something called precision. So okay, whenever I say that I have a precision, so that means any number smaller than that you cannot calculate, right? So for example, if I am using single precision, then any number 10 to the power minus smaller than 10 to the power minus 8, that number we cannot calculate. Okay, so for us that number is equal to 0. Okay, so for example, if I am doing with single precision, then 10 to the power minus 10 is equivalent to 0. 10 to the power minus 89 is also 0, and 10 to the power minus 10 is also 0. Okay, because we are working with a single precision. So that means you have to add this term up to that order for which the values of this term is less than 10 to the power minus 8. Okay. So you have to do this summation up to that order, or any term which is smaller than 10 to the power minus 8, you can neglect. From this condition, you will find up to which point you have to do the summation. Is this point clear?
So then we have to use some pen and copy like that. We have to see till which point this is going on.
No, no. So for example, yes, you numerically calculate each term, okay, and the part of the code where you are calculating each term, okay, that part use an if condition. If the value of this term is less than that, then do the summation. Else, stop, print the result. Okay. Okay. So I will. I think it's better to write the code and then discuss. Okay, so let me not go into that much. Try to write it. Okay, and so for example, you can write, you can use this so other formulas also, you can calculate the values of sin x also. Sin x is actually a better example. There is no error for any values of x. Sin x always gives you the values between 0 and 1. So truncating sin x up to some order is important problem. Okay, so let me just write that code in the, and I will discuss that in the next class. Okay, so let me not go into that. I have to discuss something. Okay, so function is now fine. Now let me define something subroutine. Okay, subroutine is something.
Sir, function is finished. Function is just like that. Whatever you have routine
Yes,
will be
yes.
the
Function
finished.
is just like that. Remember that it will only return only one value. So that value is the whatever you will store in the name of the function. It will return that value. Okay, and all
Sir,
the input values are here within the bracket. Yes, yes.
So there
sir,
is also quadratic, cubic, and many things. And there is a one A and B, comma A comma B, x of A comma
Ha,
B,
ha, ha, ha. So you can
something like
it can
that.
take
There is
multiple
something.
variables here, so no problem with that. Yes, but remember that it will function will only return one value to the main program. Yes. Is there any other question?
सर आपने यहाँ फंक्शन एक्स ऑफ बी लिखे थे ना, तो फंक्शन एक्स ऑफ ए नहीं लिख सकते?
हाँ लिख सकते हैं, लेकिन दिस इज ए डमी वेरिएबल, ठीक है, क्योंकि आप जब कल करोगे यहाँ पर, ओके, सो वेन एवर यू विल कॉल दिस एक्स, ओके, so you are calling with some variable, right? So this a will enter here as a b, and within this function it will do the calculation as a b, but you are giving the value of a, right? So for example, in this code also, what is the value of a? Pi, but you are calling that function with the variable a, so that means whatever you have in a, it is transferring that to b, and within this function it will do the calculation with the b, okay, because a does not have any meaning here within that function, because within that function you can, what you can do is that you can do every your calculation with b, because b is a variable in the function.
ओके सर.
You can use a, but since this is an independent program, it is always advisable to use a different variable, because it will store that anyway. You can also use a actually, but you can also use b, so that's why I want to say. Yes. Because so for example, the variables you used in the main program and variables you used within the function, they are completely independent. Only thing which is common is that this x, because x will give you return in the main program, so that's why x is common in both main program and function. Yes. Is there any other question? Okay, if not, let me go to the subroutine. Okay, subroutine is also another thing which can take, I think you do not need the, you do not have to define here. And subroutine, okay, so let me not define. Okay, so I have also defined, okay, subroutine also has the similar structure. Okay, but here let us try with two variables, a and b. Okay, so let me x and y and a. Okay, so okay, let me not use x here, because x is the name of the subroutine. Okay, so I have used so this is a subroutine. Okay, structure of subroutine is similar. Okay, so subroutine is a independent, subroutine is an independent program. Okay, so it will take some input value, it will return you some output value. Okay, the similar thing. And so this is the function of this is the, and it will start with a subroutine and in its name and what are the variables. So you have to write explicitly what are the input variable and what are the output variable here. Okay, so for example, you can, here you can use multiple variables, some of them are input, some of them are output. Okay, but the name of the subroutine will not return any variable. Okay, so it is just a name. Okay, so then, so for example, it will take some input and output value, so you have to define those inside the variable. Okay, so I can define it as real star 8 a comma b. That means these are the variables inside the subroutine. Okay. So then let me just not do anything. Let me just assume that a is the input variable, b is the output variable. You can do any. I mean, you can use any one of them as used. You can use multiple variables here. But let me just calculate that v equal to sine of a. So what it will return is that it will return b. So you can do many calculations here. Okay. So for example, you can write your factorial code here, and so any independent program you can write it here. Okay. But and ultimately, so you have to write. So for example, it has. So I have assumed. Okay. I can assume that okay, a will be our input variable, b will be our output variable. You can choose any variable as you wish. Okay. So now since a is our input variable, I have to give some input variable here in the main code. So it will take the input, but what will be the output? Output variable will be the sign of that. Okay. So I will calculate the sign of that. So I want to calculate the sign of that input variable, and then I want to store it that value in the B, and then I will return that value B in the main program. Okay. So, and how would I call that in the main program? Okay. In the main program, I will call it in this way. So, whenever I want to call a subroutine in the main program, this is the syntax call. Call statement is the syntax for calling a subroutine. Okay. So now I have stored a as a pi. So I want a as an input value, and let us use some variable y. Okay, so whatever it will return as b, I want to store it in place of y. Okay, and then in this line I can use print star comma y. Okay, now you may also ask, can I use b? You can use b, but you can also use another variable. So that's why I want to show. Okay, because it is advisable that to use a different variable in within the subroutine uh, than the variable that you already have used in the main program. Okay, so it is advisable that you use different variables for main program and subroutine. Okay, you may use same variable also, but because if you also use the variable y here, so the y in the main program and y in the subroutine will be different. Okay, because your compiler already knows this is a subroutine variable, so it will allocate a different memory for. So what will happen is that the variables that you use within the subroutine, it will already allocate a different memory for all the variables that you are using in the subroutine. Okay. So that's why if you use the same variable, then it may confuse sometimes. So that's why, but modern compilers are also very smart, so they do not mix those things. So fine. Okay. Now if I run this code, there is an error. Okay, where is an error? Call xy time mismatch. Okay, यहाँ पर real start. Okay, so you can see. So what is sine pi? So a is pi. So I have calculated sine of pi. So it will return what is sine pi? Value is 0. Okay. So you can see we are getting a result which is 10 to the power minus 8. So you can see I have used double precision. So can anyone point out where is my error? So I have used double precision here. So I should get a result which is double precision. But I am getting my result as a single precision because so it is returning 0, it is calculating 0, but it is so my 0 is 10 to the power minus 8. Okay. But since I am using double precision, I should get 0 as 10 to the power minus 16. Okay. So Hello. Okay, think about it. Let me mail you. There are various errors actually. Okay. Let me just email you the code. Find the error. I have emailed. Okay. I have emailed you. So, is there any question? So, fixed
सर
name
प्लीज
for double precision. Yes. Go on.
सर एक बार कॉल स्टेटमेंट का सर फिर मतलब रिवाइज कर दीजिएगा आपने क्या बताया.
हाँ, कॉल स्टेटमेंट पे क्या है, तो एक सबरूटीन होगा. सबरूटीन इज एन इंडिपेंडेंट कोड. ओके, तो उसके लिए सबरूटीन का एक नाम होगा. So my name is X. You can use any name here. A B C D E F. I mean, you can use RAM, anything here. I have used X. Okay. You can use XX. That is also same thing. Okay. So, but then whatever you have used as your name, you have to call with that name. Okay. So there is no, and we don't have to define that XX anywhere with anywhere in the code or anywhere in the subroutine. Okay, this is just a name. Okay, you can also use XX123 or something like that also. Okay, so there is, but there are some restrictions. You can only use, I think, alphabets and numbers, and you cannot use any symbols or something. You can only use some fixed symbols like underscore and this type of thing. Like you can use XX underscore 123 as a name of the subroutine, but you may not use other symbols. Okay. So this is the same thing. So first thing is the name. Then the second thing is the input and output variable. You can use as many input and output variable as you wish. So for example, you can use V, F, other FF. So any other variables as you wish. I have used only. I have discussed only with two variable, one input and one output. Okay. You can use two input variable, two output variable, one input variable, three output variable, any number of variables you may use. Okay. So, depending on the thing, depending on
सर
the, yes,
सर स्टेटमेंट कॉल में सर वाई क्या लिखना जरूरी है सर मतलब.
yes. So you have to specify number of input variables. So you have to explicitly specify the input variables and output variables. Yes. Because whenever it will return the code, it will return your result in B, and then you have to store that value of B in the main code. So that's why you have to you have to write the output variables also here. So that's why it is required for subroute. So in subrouting, okay. In function, what is happening that it is returning as your name. Okay, it is returning the result in function. So in function, it is returning the value with your name. So that's why output variable is not required in function, but in subroutine output variable is required.
Sir,
Yes.
let us assume, sir, जो subroutine, whatever you define the subroutine A, B, and C, XX subroutine where you define
A, B, and
A,
C. Yes.
B, then C is the output and A, B is the input both.
That you can do. So for example, then also you have to write here some Z. You have to define some Z here. Yes. You want me to write a code like that, or hello, or yes, you can use any number of variables here.
Sir, I mean to say that the last variable is called the output or remain.
No. So for example, you can use any variable as input, any variable as output. Usually, we use initial variables as input and latter variables as output. But you can use theoretically any variable as input and any variable as.
Yes sir, we can use anything, but the last variable is the output ना. जैसे अगर 4 digit 4 variable का हो तो last variable is a function of 3 variables just
हाँ नहीं,
preceding.
बट लास्ट वेरिएबल भी आउटपुट होगा. ये कोई, इट इज नॉट दैट फिक्स. यू कैन यूज एनी वेरिएबल एज एन आउटपुट. So for example, let me write Let me write.
Sir, we have to define now. That's why, sir.
No.
जैसे let
So
us.
for example, we don't have to define which one is input, which one is output. Okay. So whatever it will take, whatever values it will get from the main program, it will treat those as an input, and whatever is not there, it will treat those as an output. Your compiler already knows. So let me show you. So for example, I am giving you A and Y. Okay, let me give Y here and A here. I want to treat the second variable as an input and first variable as an output. Okay. So then I have stored. So let me write it as A is equal to sine of B. Okay. So I have used last variable as an input, first variable as an output. Okay. ठीक है. So B यहाँ पर आएगा, B पे value आएगा, and then A will give you some value. B, A is equal to sine B. Yes, let me run. So you can see it is giving. So I am treating this second variable as input and first variable as an output.
Sir, call statement is must for subroutine or functions too.
Yes, no, call statement is must for subroutine. But for function, call statement is not required. You can just directly call that function, that y equal to something xx or something.
But sir, we have defined already real y, a, z, and b. So why is it necessary for call?
So yes, so we have defined y and a, but call statement actually this is the syntax for calling a subroutine. Okay. So यही syntax है. इस सबरूटीन कॉल करने के लिए कॉल स्टेटमेंट यूज करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, यही सिंटैक्स है. So is that your question? Why I have to use call statement?
Sir,
Yes, sir. What is the significance of call?
No. So there is no significance. This is the statement. So for example, this is like real star it defines a double precision number, double precision variable, right? So that's why call statement actually calls a subroutine. So that's just a statement. There is no significance. Okay.
सर पैरामीटर और सबरूटीन एक दूसरे से इंडिपेंडेंट होंगे.
हाँ. Parameter is just a variable that you cannot change. So that's why I am using that as an input variable, because parameter can as an input, but it will not act as an output.
सर बट सबरूटीन में जो आपने यूज किया सर मतलब ये.
Oh, okay, yes. ये यहाँ पर usually I should not use a here. Okay, so it's not advisable. I can use any variable. So for example, m here or n here. It is not advisable, but ये सबरूटीन के अंदर जो a है और बाहर में मेन प्रोग्राम में जो a है, यूजुअली कंपाइलर ट्रीट दोज एज डिफरेंट. ओके. तो a यहाँ पर a का जो वैल्यू है, यहाँ पर अगर मैं a का प्रिंट दूंगी प्रिंट, तो इफ आई जस्ट प्रिंट स्टार कॉमा a, it will not give you any result, okay, because it does not have the value of a. It is returning some garbage value. So main program में a का, so main program knows what is a, but the subroutine does not know what is a, because this and this a here and this a here is completely different. Okay.
Sir.
So that's why it is advisable that you should not use the same variable as main program and subroutine. So use any other variable here. Okay. So then that will remove the confusion. Let us use m here. Okay. As the m here, then there is no confusion, right? Yes. So it is advisable that you use okay, what is the problem? Type mismatch. Okay, so I have to define here m comma p. Fine. Yes. What is the question?
हेलो सर.
Yes, go on.
सर रवीज सर जो पढ़ा रहे थे तो उन्होंने बोला था कि रियल स्टार 8 यूज करने पर हमें रिजल्ट जो मिलता है वो डबल प्रिसीजन में मिलता है. बट कंपाइलर जब इंटरनली कैलकुलेट करता है तब वो रियल वैल्यूज के साथ ही कैलकुलेशन करता है, जब रिजल्ट प्रोवाइड करता है तब हमें वो डबल प्रिसिशन में शो होता है। And means real star 8 is not enough to show result in double precision, instead of
No,
along
no,
with
no.
which we have to use underscore D0 to get
Yes, yes, to underscore T0. Yes, that's the correct. And not only that, you have to use. So, for example, if you want to get this result, this code. So, for example, let me show you what are the errors. Okay, so since I am discussing real star 8, just specifying real star 8 is not sufficient for defining double precision. Okay, so probably he missed that thing, but that's a wrong statement. Okay, probably he was trying to mean some other thing, but real star 8 only defines these variables with a double precision. Not, it will not give you the result in double precision. Okay, to get your result in double precision, you have to define every number with double precision. So, for example, you have to define here d0, you have to define d0, you have to use any other number. Okay, I have not used any other number. Okay, so you have to define this intrinsic functions also double precision. So, for example, it will be da tan. Okay, and then whenever I have used sign, I have to use d sign. Okay, then only you will get your result with a double precision. Just see, because sin pi is 0, so you are now getting 0 with a double precision.
okay sir, fine. And sir, subroutine में sir, there are three more statements we use statement, and one is intent statement, and third is return statement. Please explain these three
Yes,
things for
sir.
me.
Return is Fortran 77. Yes, so return, it is advisable to write a return here. Uh, yes, I think return सबरूटीन में यूज होता है और फंक्शन में यूज होता है, इसमें यूज होता
सबरूटीन
है,
में भी यूज करते हैं।
सबरूटीन में भी यूज करते हैं। हाँ ठीक है, तो रिटर्न मतलब जस्ट रिटर्न दिस वैल्यूज। ओके, सो इट इज एडवाइसेबल। आई थिंक Fortran 90 has stopped that return, but yes, it is advisable, so because there may be some compiler which may create a problem. Okay, so it is advisable to use a return statement. So return statement is just meaning that return the values of m or b in the main program. So it is advisable. So yes, please use that return statement. I missed that. Okay, so please use return statement. Return means just whatever you have calculated, return those values. I mean, return not all those values, which are there in the in your as your what is called these variables. Okay, so return the values you calculated in these variables. So return those values. Yes, and what are the
So
other two?
use statement and intent in and intent out statements.
Okay, use statement. I think use statement I will come later. I think use statement is used for module. Is that correct? I think use statement Fortran. I think it is. You have to use module. Yes, use statement is for module. And what are the other statement? Module I
Intent
will
in
come later. Intent,
intent in and intent out.
intent in, intent out. Oh, intent in is the where may be used but not modified within the procedure. Dummy argument may be set and then modified within the procedure. Values returned to the color. Uh, I have to check. Okay, intent in. I so these are functions which I have also never used actually. Okay, I have to see just what are the things. Okay, but most probably you may not need those things within this program. Okay, because whatever codes you have in the syllabus. Okay, I just don't know what I mean, I have to check. Okay, I never used these things. These are advanced techniques. I have to check. Okay, so
Uh,
yes, go on.
uh, Sir, you have said that all this value would be written in D terms, sir. So A equals to 4 in 4 के पहले भी एक D आना चाहिए ना 4.0.
4.0 D0 हाँ लिखा है ना।
सर ये D0 4 से रिलेटेड है या 10 से रिलेटेड है?
नहीं, that means you have a number which is 4.0 and all the precision values up to the 10 to the power minus 16. So that means, so 4.0 D0, that means 4.00000 up to 16 decimal at place it will be 0. So that is the meaning of this 4.0 D. Okay, just 4.0 means 4.000 up to 8 decimal place, and then there can be error. Yes, is there any other question? Okay, so I think time is out. So let us meet on the next sometime in the next week. Okay. Okay, so I will take some few extra classes in the next week probably. Okay, so this week I am busy right now. Okay. So just remind me in the next week, and also I think my class is not on Monday, right? My class is on Tuesday and Thursday.
Yes, sir.
So Tuesday's class I may not take. Okay. I will take this Tuesday's class in the evening. Is there any problem with you? So in the evening from
No, no problem.
Yes, sir. Not
okay,
at
so
all, sir.
I will take in the evening. Okay, morning I have some jobs, but I don't want to miss that class. Okay, so in the next Tuesday I will take in the evening from 6, 7, 7 I think 7 p.m.
But sir, on Tuesday there will be lab class from 2 to 5.
Yes, 2 to 5. I will take from 7 in the evening.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so let me stop here.